Why science alone should never dictate policy.
Spoiler alert, I don't care about your science that keeps changing every week. I care about morality and ethics, so hear me out.
So today, in the age of the absence of religion, most people still have an uncontrollable need to worship something bigger than their tiny selves. Today, the worship of the state and of science takes the place of faith. Because let's face it, we all have only faith that the scientists and experts know what the heck they're talking about. And we make a very long leap of faith that they're honest about it. Not that they'll use their appeal to authority to sell us lucrative snake oil, right? It's not like that's ever happened in history, right?
When someone says science these days, they probably mean a policy that is attached to a study using scientific tools, and perhaps a debatable methodology that nobody seems to care about, as long as the word science is used to justify said policy.
Science, from a method of study aiming to understand the nature of the world, has devolved into dogmatic belief and ecstatic worship and desperate appeals to authority, making it scientism, or simply another cult centered around the theme of science, like Scientology. Those who vaguely call themselves scientists are now the new priesthood or new Spanish Inquisition, and those who follow them, without question, are the proud, virtuous, faithful. Those who question a conclusion of a scientific study, or more importantly, a policy loosely derived from a scientific study, are deemed heretics and are demonized. See the parallels here? By the way, science is never an inalterable holy word of God. It never settles, and true scientists constantly try to disprove their conclusions to make sure that they are valid, constantly doubting themselves, never basking in cherished beliefs. But hey, scientists are still human. They still have bloated egos that need stroking, and they can be often too insecure to objectively and dispassionately reevaluate their own conclusions. Some overeducated fools think that science should dictate policy. I say hell no. And here's my argument. For the longest part of history, humans understood basic genetics in that certain traits are hereditary, and some inherited traits were less useful to society than others. Objectively speaking, from a Darwinian perspective, it was science. So they let science dictate a policy of eugenics called prima noctis, or in English, first night. Prima noctis can be found in history, from the Epic of Gilgamesh to countless examples of it in feudal Europe. And you might remember it playing a huge part in the hit movie Braveheart, where the English lord had the lawful right to rape Scottish women. Prima noctis basically gave the authority to every feudal lord to rape every woman in his lands before she got married. This policy was based on the assumption that the lords probably had better genes if they managed to be where they were, so by spreading their seed among the peasants, they were improving the overall efficacy of their society, right? It was science. Eugenics was also very popular in Nazi Germany, where scientists used something called scientific racism to breed humans like they breed pedigrees, while other humans they would dispose of. And it was totally scientific. Was it moral though? Fuck no. Throughout history, science can be used to justify some really crazy stuff. Rape, genocide, slavery, and all of these were based on someone's brand of science or science-based policy. To sum it all up, science is a method to help us study and discover nature. And the condition for science is that it must always be open to continuous, unending scrutiny. Social policies can use science to guide them, but morality should take precedence always, because if not, how different are we than all those in history who committed atrocities? So why science alone should never dictate policy? Because morality should. Because science and experts were consistently used time and time and time again to justify holy wars, rape, genocide, and slavery. Do you still think that science should be what dictates policy? Or do you think that morality should? Tell me what you think in the comment section. Thank you for listening. You're awesome.